Hello, I'm Kari Waltz. Thank you for joining me in my studio. I'm back from Tallapoosa School of Art in Alabama. Had a wonderful week there teaching watercolor journaling. I had taken several clips of videos on my phone and was trying to merge them together today, and it's just not working. So I'm not going to frustrate myself any more than I have to. And I'm going to share with you the last day. I had a student that was absent, and so I rearranged some things so that I could try to video with my camera so she could see some of the demos that she was going to miss, and also so we could enjoy the fireplace that was in there. It was a cool day. If you haven't heard of Tallapoosa School of Art, I will include the information down below in the description. Dorothy Littleton is the director and host, and she has a wonderful array of classes, whether they're offered for single day local area residents, or if you want to come in for an artist retreat and really enjoy that experience, I would recommend that. So today's video is 3 of the demos that I did on the last day. So please enjoy the videos, and I'm sorry I don't have some beautiful locational shots, but maybe I'll be able to fix what isn't talking to each other on my computer and my phone and my camera, and be able to figure that out for you another day. So enjoy the watercolor journaling and paint along with us. Here we go. We are starting to paint a reflection of the Lake Martin. Beautiful view from an autumn scene. This is what we are looking at. I know it's a little hard to see, but y'all, I can't leave. Well, can y'all see that? All right, we'll just do that. It's a little skewed for me, but that's fine. In landscapes, when you paint sky is usually your lightest light. This sky is very, it's very bright. Beautiful day, and it's reflecting in the water below. So I want to mix what I'm going to mix for my sky and mix my water. Most of the time reflections are darker than the object itself, and in this case that is true. So I'm going to take my brush that has water mixed with blue, and I'm just going to lay in along the top edge. Throwing, I've got, I did not wet my paper first. I'm just going to lay in where my sky is. There are a few little clouds, so I'm going to come back with my paper towel and lift off some of those clouds. I'm going to also make this sky just a tad darker at the top. Now, watercolor dries darker. Excuse me, I wish it dry darker. It will dry lighter than what you think. And so I'm going to add a little more dark up there. Now I'm looking down below. There's a little bit of that same color on this side of the boat, right in here. So I'm just trying to mimic what I put in the sky down below. So I'm cutting in where, now I'm going to go ahead and paint water across here because that's going to be a reflection, and reflections have in them the same color. Whoops, I went a little too high on that one, so I'm going to lift that off. The blue comes just right up to that weight buoy, whatever it's called. Is it a buoy? Buoy. So y'all got to help me with the terminology. The terminology. Okay, so I'm coming back and making a soft edge on that because that's going to be a reflection of trees that are in the distance, and I want a soft edge. So now I'm going to put in more. This is on dry paper because I wanted it to be darker. Okay, and you're going to see it even get darker than this because the part of the sky, the zenith, that is more directly above, you don't see in the photograph. But if you saw if you were there in real life and you looked straight above, there's darker blue straight above you. And so that's reflecting down in this. So now I'm going to bring that up underneath the boat. I can still see where my reflection is. And, you know, again, your reflection is going to take on, you know, anytime you have a reflection, it's going to also take, just like shadows take on the color of the local color. So this reflection, because of the shadow of the boat and the blue of the sky, you're going to see some blue in that shadow. The reflection up here doesn't have any blue in it because the sky's not what's reflecting. It's just the landscape. So we're going to kind of just let that do its thing and dry. Now, because I'm going back and forth, up and down, trying to hold on to this, get it with my nails. All right, now, while that's, hopefully before that's too dry, I can remove a little bit of the clouds down here to mimic what's up there. And this, of course, the water here was a still day, and anytime it's breezy, you won't have anything like this to look at. So it was just that this was my first impression of this place as I walked down and saw this. It's like, oh, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do the background now. It's fall. There's green. There's orange. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pick some orange. I'm going to lay that down, work some of that. Green is not really a vibrant green. It's kind of a warm green, kind of an olive green, more of an olive green, kind of fallish like. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this other green over here too. And you can work straight from your palette when you're wanting really strong. I'm going to soften the colors back here. I don't want them to, I want them to read further in the distance. So I'm going to do the furthest of the hills first. I'm wetting I didn't totally clean my brush, but I'm wetting this upper part first, and you can even wet it a little bit into the sky because your painting is, you know, it can blend in with the sky and go a little above. So some of the sky is damp. Actually, I'm going to do both of them at the same time because we're trying to do this fairly quick. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the moisture also down into the reflection. And we'll fine tune that shoreline when this dries. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of the green and I'm just going to kind of bounce it around, because when I point my brush, it kind of creates the top of a tree. You see how that works? It's kind of cool. And again, it might be a little too wet, but we can always come back and make it darker. Okay, if I want the trees pointed up this way, my brush is pointed that direction. Now I'm doing a reflection, so I reverse the point of my brush and go this direction. See, I'm trying to make it easy on yourself. And then I'm going to add some other color. It's fall, so I'm just picking up some other, bouncing it around. Again, watercolor is layered, and whoop, sorry about that. Happens when your hand touches your screen. Now this is darker over here. There's a little shadow, a little indentation. So if I want to create a little darkness, then just pick up a little darker color. That's way dark, but again, let's just leave it. I think it's going to dry fairly light. A little darker in here, and a little darker back in here. Turn it this direction. And again, bounce, bounce, bounce. I want to indicate where my land is. I just picked up some purple. Sounds like a weird color, but I love color in my work, and I rarely use just plain browns. I'd rather have them visually mix. So a purple has red in it. The opposite of green is red, so I picked one just to try to get some coolness and variation. Now, right now I need a lot more orangey tones, brighter tones to mimic that fall. And watercolor is usually done light to dark. And I'm not exactly following that format today, but like I said, it's usual. The usual doesn't mean always. So I want that a little lighter. I want this a little darker. And you can do glazes over the watercolor as well later, but my brush, you see it's starting to split a little bit because I'm not using a lot of water. Because sometimes I just want to lay in some color and not be too fluid. So that's getting the, when I back up and look at it, I'm starting to get a feel for the land. I need to let this dry a little bit before I fine tune the shoreline, and then I might even come back with a little white pen work and add a little light. So, gotta clean my brush. Clean my brush. Lovely. See? I'm gonna lift that. So now do you see how pale that first green is that we laid in? It's crazy how light it gets. So I'm gonna add a little more definition into some of those in the back. But I just want it to feel like it's a reflection, and when I fine tune that shoreline, I think it'll feel more like a reflection. We hope. We will see. All right, this group of trees over here is again closer, so you're going to see a little more variation in their shape. They're not as blurred, so I'm going to lay in still a little bit of water here. It's going to be a little lighter, a little brighter. But I'm going to go above the skyline, so see, this is dry now. So I'm going to mix some green, some kind of a, what do you call it? Olive green. Wants to have some more yellow in it. And if you want to change the color of your trees, hey, go for it. These are warmer, and they stick above. See, this is a time when it's okay if your brush is spraying, kind of splitting on you. I can put it back together just by the way I clean it and pushing more water in. This is one of my oldest brushes. I've probably had it for, I bet, 4 years. I just use them until they die, and they eventually will, because you'll just wear them out. But the foreground needs to be warmer than the background. How am I doing on time? What does it say?
13 minutes.
Okay. Whew. All right, so here I have some darker shrubbery down here. It's a little in the orangey reddy tone, and I forgot to do the reverse shadow here, so we're going to come up here and put in some of the colors that I have that go up here. Pick up some of that green Now right now this isn't dark enough because the reflection should be darker than the original, whatever it is you're looking at. I want to add some darker, I actually added like that dark red in here. It doesn't look like red, but it's mixing with the other things. And it's wet, so it blurs out. And I'll come back and fine tune that a little bit later. And if you look at the trees here, you can actually see a little bit of white on some of the bark of the trees. And I'll get that with a pen when this is over with. So we'll just see. And again, these are more in focus. You can blur it a little bit if you want, but it's already closer than this far hill just because the warmth of the colors that I put in. So hopefully you can see that advance. All right, the boat, even though the boat is white, the boat is not white in the picture. The lightest light, when I squint my eyes, is the sky and the water. So the sky is usually the lightest, the water or a flat plane is the next, and then angled planes. Well, this is an angled plane. That would be considered an angled plane. This would be a flat plane, and it's pretty light. But again, I'll have to come back and probably add that and lighten it up with something else. So I'm going to come back with, when I squint at that boat, to me it has a little violet tendencies to it in the shadow part. So I'm just taking the sky color and I'm adding that. Might have to change brushes. We'll see. Squeeze it. And there we go. Now it's cooperating. The whole, okay, there is a line on this boat that has an accent that's lighter. And that again, it might be something that I do on with a pen. I'm just using the same color that's in the boat and putting it in the water. It's not dark enough, so I'm going to make a darker purpley blue. Is that a word? Blue violet, I guess is what it is. Okay, so underneath, and this might be too wet. I mean, it might be, see, that's a little vibrant. I'll have to come back over, you know, some paint, yeah, that's too vibrant. Okay, if it's too vibrant and it's blue, what do I do?
Yellow.
Close. Orange. Orange.
Right.
Yellow would make it
That's
green.
University of Florida and all. I don't remember them by the teams.
That's a good way to remember.
That's a great way to think. Okay, so I'm warming. Now I'm just doing that right on top, which that's probably way too orange.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful. I mean, this water paper is like 140. This is an example of if you do too much and you overwork the paper, it can peel. So I've got to be gentle when I lay something in, and I might have to come back to it later. And I might just change the color of the boat, you know, who knows. So that's there. I'm creating a little bit of you're at my picture. Woo, too dark. It might be too dark. We'll see. Because remember how, you know, how this dries lighter. So I'm going to leave that. That I'm feeling all right with that right now. And then while I have that color, I'm going to come over here and do this buoy, that color, and pull in the shadow color that was a little more appropriate. Not the shadow, the reflection. Pull that up just a little bit. Squint my eyes, see what I'm seeing. Interesting. All right, I have this boat has little seats in it that stick up a little bit above the line. So I'm just gonna, there's one here. That's a little too vibrant. It's like, that one here, one here. I'm just looking at shapes. Come back and neutralize that a little bit because I'm trying to do this pretty quick. I'm going to pick up black and then go into the blue. I don't like to paint straight black. It's still really dark. Oh, I should have shifted to glasses. That's why I'm having trouble. I don't have my prism glasses on. My prism glasses help shift my left eye. My left eye sees slightly out. And yeah, my ophthalmologist said, I don't think you're dyslexic. I think this is your problem. One of my eyes veer out. How rude of it. Okay, so again, you know, a lot of this looks like a hot mess from here. I don't know how it looks from y'all. It really does. Okay, I'm adding some more color in here. I'm going to add, I want a less vibrant of that color back here. How am I doing time-wise?
20.
Oh, that's not bad.
This is like that program Chopped.
Yeah, it's like,
3-minute chefs.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
I love all that shows.
Half a day's worth of work doing 3 minutes.
I know.
I would never be able to do those shows.
Me either.
I would not put myself under that stress.
I love to watch them.
See, I've lost the definition of what this is, and I might can just fix that with the pen. There's a lot of things you can do with the pen.
Especially when you're working that small. Especially when you're working that small.
Yeah, working small and
Mm-hmm.
yes. Oh, gosh, I should have noticed that a while back. Yeah, sometimes I don't even. I try to start because it just helps the. I had eye therapy, practice eye therapy and stuff that try to train your eye, that your muscles get tired. This one skews my vision of this eye back to normal, so it's less strain on my eyes. Strange. Anyway. Okay, so when I look at this, it's like, what do I like? What do I don't like? What do I need to do? I need to lighten the. See, this is really warping too. That's why I like that other paper. Multimedia artboard wouldn't do this. No.
Okay.
It would not. Yay to multimedia artboard. Okay, so anyway, so if y'all have y'all tried yours yet?
No, I think I'm gonna do
Yeah, I was gonna use that as one.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing. Did you like it? Those of you who tried it, or was that all? No, I'm going to try it today.
I'm trying another day.
Okay. All right, because I'm looking. Okay, see how I thought that back was too dark, where the motor is, and how much lighter it is now. So now when I'm squinting, my shadow is still too light compared to the boat, and part of it is because the boat, when I squint, this and this is really the same color. I just don't have that white line down the side. Let me come on, get rid of that. Let me see the water. There we go. Oh, that's a little off on shape then. I didn't see that. Look at the whole thing when you do it, not just a partial view. Okay, that one's sticking up a little bit. That can be a little, again. a little bluer. I put so much orange in it a minute ago that again, it's water transparent, so you can layer it. Just make sure each layer is dry. And again, I'm working itty bitty teeny tiny. And the rest I might can fix in pen.
Are you gonna do the rope that's got tied to the buoy? Is that gonna be gel pen?
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking too.
All right.
Actually, not gel pen. It's going to be that
The
005.
black pen.
Oh, okay.
Any teeny tiny details. Yeah. It's going to be pen. So I'm going to let this dry real quick. Here. We're going to hurry this up a little bit, and I'm going to dig out my pen, and I have 6 minutes. We'll see how it does. Are you learning anything?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's good to challenge myself. But again, it's our last day. I want y'all to get as much from me as you can, however it works. Whether it's outside and you look over my shoulder, or I'm looking over your shoulder. Whatever's best. Okay, so I think these back trees, when I feel those, it's not cool anymore. So it should be dry enough. I'm gonna put in a couple of suggested trunks, and you don't want them, all the same. And you can, if you don't want them as dark, you can touch it and lift off some of the lines. The back shoreline is a little lighter in through here. So I'm going to put that in. Now and then I'm going to drag my finger over it to soften that. And I'll probably, ooh, look, I changed the shoreline. How about that? Now that went there. Like there's another, yeah, I didn't quite line that up right. Yeah, do as I do, not as I. Oh well. But see, I can come back and make part of that darker. But there's actually a lot of reflections of the over here where, oh, I forgot to put them down in here. So if you put one up there, put it down there. There's a reflection here, put it down here. You don't want to overdo it. I'm kind of doing that. So I'm going to come back and re-emphasize a little bit of, reestablish maybe is a better word, the shoreline. Well, it's hard to see. Let's go a little darker. When you're dealing with foliage and trees, the underneath is always darker. Why?
Sundown.
Shadow.
Yes, you got to have the shadows of the trees. So make sure that when you put in trees, and that's pretty warm. I'm not liking how there's part of that I don't like. I'm moving that. Look, I'm moving the land. Oh my goodness. I wanted it to match more. That was bothering me. So I might not make my 30 minutes, but it'll be close. All right, that quit. I'm not interested in that. What? Oh shoot.
Sorry, that was my fault. I just changed it.
You what? Okay, there we go. That clump of orange is too solid, and it needs to be broken up. So I'm just gonna put some other colors on that and soften that. I don't like it that solid. That's a little too white. That's more back in shadows, so I'm gonna mute that a little bit. Okay, I had to back up and look. So I don't have enough color in here. Do you see? This is faded from when I put it, so I need to add more. That's a little too bright. That's one thing with watercolor. It's like, whoop, you think you have it the right color, and come back and layer. I like that better. Blur that out so it's a soft edge. This is closer, so I want more definition. So I'm going to come in here and make these a little brighter, a little warmer. I'm going to add purple at their base because I want that darker than what's in the background. It's pretty purple. Blur it out. And like I said earlier, you know, the reflection is really supposed to be darker than the image above. And when I squint, I'm not really capturing that very well. So you can come back after it's dry and add, and I'll try to do that before. Is it started again?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll try to come back and show you how to glaze over. It's just another layer of watercolor. But it's got to be dry before you do that. All right, so I'm going to make this down here just a little more vibrant because this is a closer area. Go right into the... Okay, so to me that's a little more mirror image of that. And you know, you're just capturing the essence of it, hopefully. I was doing all that to hopefully let my boat dry. You just work one thing, come back, work one thing, come back. The water, let's see. Water down here could even be a little darker. So I'm going to flip this over so I can do it easier this direction. And so anytime you need to reposition your painting to make it easier on your arm or your hand, do that. So I'm just going to create, this is sort of a glazing effect where this down here should be dry enough to take another layer. And this is like 140 paper, which isn't bad, but it's great. It's great to learn on. And if you want to indicate just a hint of some movement or bring in a little bit of directional strokes, you can do that with just some of your lines. All right, so now let's see what I can do with, oh, I know, one thing I want to do. I'm going to get this white and I'm going to lighten this shoreline up over here. It's a little more opaque, but that needed to be, and then I'll come back with a pen and divide it. Does that make sense? So can let that dry. It's always back and forth, back and forth. All right, so I'm going to take my black pen and look a little closer at that buoy. It comes around here. There's the base of it. It has a line that comes down and up. And then we have this reflection, and look where I'm going to look where I'm aiming, and I want to take that reflection, and it doesn't have to be a solid line because it's a reflection, but I want it to mimic what's there. I'm going to move my hand here so that, because I'm right-handed and this line is a lot easier to draw. Can you still see? Okay. So I'm going to follow the line of the boat. Add that detail. I see some on the other side as well. There's the chair. And so you can outline, you know, a little bit, you know, whatever you want, but because this is my focal point, and actually there's a line here that goes out that you might not even see, but I wanted to indicate that because this boat is, you know, stationary. And you can even do some shading with this pen. I'm making this part a little darker. That is totally your call if you want to or not. I'm going to add some light on it in a minute. I don't usually do a lot of outlining in a reflection, but I do want to divide this line back here. I think it's dry enough. I'm going to have some, I think that's enough. And then we have some foliage back here that I'm just doing little scribbles with. I mean, do you see how scribbly? You know, it's just like my sound effects. And again, you know, you might have some down here, but they're not very controlled because this is a blur. So I don't want to put the same kind of detail in the close-up. Even though this is far away, I think I will give it a little bit of definition, just not much. Again, this is extremely light pen, light touch. It's a 005 Pentel something or another. Prismacolor Premier. I just like how tiny it is. And Mary, what was the name of the one that you got, a 003? What kind?
It's a
Micro pen? Okay. All right, so, I mean, this is let me do the white. It's like I'm forgetting something. You can add a little white. I'll get the white to right. Ooh, that's a lot of white. A little white back in here. You can blur that out so it's not so bright. I can add a little light to my buoy. I can add a little white. Again, it can't be that bright because it's in the shadow. So drag your finger over it and remove some of the line. Is that enough? Y'all got that?
Beautiful.
Okay, so, all right, yay. Briefly, what? There we go. If I was just out, just sketching, it's like, oh, I don't have time to capture this. It might just be, here's a quick boat on the water. Here's the reflection, the buoy, whatever you call it, buoy. Shoreline back here. Another, I might not even see the sky. There's a motor. And that's just very, very, very quick. But it's just trying to capture what's quickly there, and this pen, it doesn't advertise that it's waterproof, but some of the people who do urban sketching, they've just said, oh, use this because it's one of those that's inexpensive. You're not going to cry if you lose it because it only cost a couple bucks, and it flows really nice with the flow of the ink. Now I doubt that's dry enough. we'll see. So,
If you let it dry, it usually works. That's
yeah, yeah. See, but you gotta let it dry. But if I'm really in a hurry, and I just wanna, you can start with pen. Just go off the page because you ran out of space, and you want it brighter because it's closer, brighter because it's closer. We have water right here. Woo, weird color because I didn't wash my brush.
for me. It's just for me.
Huh?
That's just for me.
Yeah, that's it. Whoa. How about that? That's a really bright color. Yeah, this is going to be like an abstract. But if you want something quick, very, very, very quick.
See, I think I kinda like that.
No, exactly. I love that style. That's kind of, if I could do that, I'd be totally happy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, but you can be as loose and quick as you want, and most people like it to maybe show or be a little more. I like to be able to do either one, and this is very loose. Like I said, you might like it better. I might like it better too. It was like my watercolor that I did of that bridge in Vicksburg. How it's like I practiced drawing it and studying it so I would know how to draw it. And of course, I just did that a lot more serious, and I am liking this better. Isn't that funny? Okay, so here's the boat. Now how much time's on the timer?
3:40.
3 minutes. Okay. Isn't that funny? Okay, yeah. Let's just see. Time yourself. See how quick you can just get the essence of the place, and do I stop?
I think so.
Stop.
4
Yeah.
minutes.
4 minutes, 3 minutes. Here, put the motor on. But you can overwork something. And when I look at this compared to this, I do like that.
I mean,
It still captures where you are, and you don't have to have. I mean, you don't have to be exact with your foliage, with your drawing. That was fun. But yes, but again, see how well the ink did, and I hardly gave it time at all to dry. But I really like.
is that Uniball?
Yes, that Uniball eye. And it's gesture drawing, quick sketching, because it flows so well, and it's lit, and it's not expensive. I usually order them like 10 at a time because I'll have one in my purse, one in some other bag. I just put them in different places. Again, make your art convenient to you so that you'll pick it up and play with it. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna have a drawing for who wants that one. Anyway, then I won't post it. So, you could draw first where your water droplet's going to be, but I'm just going to create an oval or a circle, and then I'm going to blur it out. You do not want a hard edge, so if you don't blur it quickly, then you will get that hard edge. If you want part of it a little darker, you can, you do a little wet on wet while you're there just to make it varied. But we're going to do a couple of these. I'm going to even add a little red for variation. Woo, that was a lot of red.
You're saying you don't want a hard edge around the.
You want a hard edge around the oval,
Okay.
I'm just letting the, I just wanted something different. I didn't want just
Gotcha.
plain, that kind of looks weird, but it doesn't matter. And just, I'm gonna do a couple of these. I'm gonna start with yellow on this one and then add some blue to it. So if you need to draw your oval or your circle or your, it can be a teardrop shape. Doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna show you a couple of different ways to do this. Some people prefer to use the masking fluid when they do this, and that leaves a really hard edge around your bubble, droplet, whatever you want to call it. But I really don't like it that hard of an edge. It doesn't matter. Try to make it a smooth edge. So I got a little bobble there. Okay, the other option, if you don't do it that way, is to lift. So I'm going to do all blue over here. Can you see that? Yeah. A little crooked, but you can see it. All right. And I'm going to take the paint off my brush. And I'm going to come in. And this is subtractive method is what I call it. It's like you're just soaking up some of the color. I just lay down the brush. Lift it. Don't scrub because you don't want to ruin your paper. This leaves a softer edge. If you feel like you're getting too much water, you can also disconnect your brush like this, unscrew it so you have no water flowing through it, and go back this way and lift it up like that. Sometimes that allows you to for it to be more of a sponge. So I want you to try both methods. One where you leave the white and one where you
It still
Suck
won't
it
stay
back.
kind of blue though.
yeah, because it stains it.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's okay. And so I'm going to do the same thing down here. Kind of, you can change color or you can do them all the same color. Part of the reason why I'm doing 4 is because it allows time to dry. If I only did 1, I would overwork it. So when I'm working, if I want to make some cards and I'm doing a similar design on the cards, say I want to make 4 bubbles, 4 drops. I'll put red in this one. I'll do 4 different cards, and by the time I come back around to the first one, then, oops, I forgot to do all that yellow, my bad. To lift up. By the time I come back around to the first one, then it's dry. This almost looks like blood. I don't like that. Shouldn't have said that. Yeah. But I like adding color. Just letting it do its thing. If it's wet enough, you can tilt your paper and let it run a little bit. But then I'm going to come back and remove some of that. And of course it doesn't have to be dead center. Probably be better if it wasn't, but it doesn't matter. We're just learning. Again, I'm going to unscrew my brush. But the wet on wet again dries a lot softer. It's not as harsh. And I've done this on leaves. Put a water droplet on a leaf. It looks pretty cool. All right, so this one's not near as defined, but it's also a lot lighter color, the yellow. So I could come back in here and keep lifting, but it's really not necessary because at least that's lighter than the majority. But what I want you to note on the water droplet, especially this one, where the light enters in the bubble where the light enters in the bubble is where you're going to put a highlight, and I do that with a pen. You can mask it, but I don't think that's, I just read, the pen is so easy. So I'm going to make, the next part of what we're going to do is you're going to decide what direction your light's coming from. Because if I'm going to look at this, I might decide, I'm going to turn it this way. Oh, sorry, I'm going to make y'all dizzy. Is that better? Yeah. I'm going to decide, I want the light coming from above and coming down. So if the light is coming from above, it's going to create a shadow down below. So that tells me I need to paint darker inside the top of the bubble and let the light get lighter inside the bubble toward the bottom. And if you have multiple colors on your page, then you can have some of each of those colors in your bubble. All right, so that one, it's not quite, okay, this one was the first one I did. It's pretty dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my bubble. You don't have to wet your bubble, but this sounds funny. Wet your bubble. Because you do want a soft transition. So I'm going to start pretty dark up here. I'm going to pull in, because I have red on it also, I'm going to add a little red to that and blur that together. It looks like it's bleeding. Okay, so anyway, that's going to be my dark side, and it's already wet, but I'm going to gently pull the paint, maybe turn my brush sideways, maybe add a touch more, to where the darkest part is toward the top, the lightest part is toward the bottom. There's paint there, but it's lighter. Okay. Now my highlights can, okay, I'm going to pull this down so it's more straight down.
Here y'all are back in the dark again.
Yeah. We are.
Natural lady.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So fun.
So,
How about you, Mary?
That's good.
all right, so we're going to leave that alone right now, because if I painted the dark here underneath the light that I just put, if I painted that dark, it would go back into the light. So I've got to let that dry. So I go to the next one. So try this one where you start with a dry brush and then you add water to that. Just like sometimes you start just with paint there and then add water and drag. So I want you to try both ways, because you'll decide which one you like. I want that darker. I'm kind of sideways. Let's go make that darker at the top. I'm more going at an angle because that's the way I'm sitting. Make that a little darker up top because it dries so much lighter. And then we're going to do the same thing. You can try wet on wet if you want to first, or you might decide which of these two were easier. Was it easier to start on wet dry paper or wet paper? So I'm just going to start with dry this time. I have to squeeze a little bit out of water just to get it going. Wipe my brush, come back with just a wet brush and drag that down. I want it lighter at the base than in the middle. So it'll be slightly stained from the whatever color you used. And make sure you paint all the way to the edges, that you don't leave a halo around. Okay, and I'm going to do the next one. Ooh, that's pretty dark. Wipe my brush. Come back in. Pick up a little yellow just to show that. Did you ever hear from Regina?
No.
Okay. All right, so that's step number 1, step number 2. 1, background. 2 is establish where the dark is. And the third layer is our shadow, and then our highlight. So it's just really 4 steps. And you'll have fun playing with different backgrounds and different shapes of bubbles, reflections, and so forth. All right, so now I'm going to go back to this one up here. By now, this one's dry enough for me to do the shadow. So I just look at some of the dark colors that I have on the paper on the colors that I used. I had blue and red here, so I haven't mixed anything in my palette yet. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the red, squeeze a little water out, and I'm going to look at how wide is my bubble. I'm kind of at a slight angle, so I'm going to come, it's your your shadow should be as wide as the bubble, as the drop. Woo. If your shadow is large, as in long, that shows that the bubble's taller. If the shadow is really close to the bubble's width, whoops, lift off some of that. That got too wide. It ran into the dark that was up here, and it made it look like the shadow was part of the dark. Good enough. Anyway, pick whatever color is in your background and cast a shadow. I just picked.
The shadow's always going to be opposite the dark side.
Yes.
So.
The shadow is going to be off the lighter side because the light hits the darker side and diffuses through, and that creates the light side, kind of a smile.
So cool.
And you can just use one color. You don't have to combine the two. It's probably easier if you just use one, but what's neat about, again, watercolor. The watercolor is transparent, and some of what's underneath is going to show through. So if you have a multicolor background, some of just using one color is going to still give you a multicolor shadow, because the cast shadow takes on the characteristics of what it's on. All right, so there I have 4 shadows, all different colors. See, this is art. I'm going to come back opposite of my shadow. I'm going to put a highlight. It can be kind of long, or it can be just a slight oval. But if it's too harsh, you can hit it with your finger and lighten it up. But there you go. Bubbles. Either wet on wet or laying it in, removing it, or isolating it and painting around. Isn't that fun?
That
That is.